Oh, hey everybody. Happy Monday night, Tuesday night. And what a blah like day. And I was just joking with somebody. I'm just like sitting here just finished eating I made a big bowl of soup today because it feels like winter. It feels like November here. It feels like a November day. It's cold, it's rainy, it's like in the low 40s. It's just miserable, dark all day, cloudy. This isn't exactly spring weather we're having, so I was feeling like very wintry, sad, and didn't want to do anything, and made some soup. So I just like gorged myself on a big pot of soup. But now here we are. So tonight we're going to have some questions. I have get another questions, not too many, about 4 or 5 questions for tonight. And for everybody who's interested, my name is Michael. I'm a women's photographer from New Jersey. I've been a pro photographer for about 15 or so years, boudoir photographer. And about 4, 5, 6 years ago, start to lose track, I started having clients come in, and then they started talking about, their pictures were for OnlyFans. And I'm like, what the heck is that? What does that mean? And so that was my introduction. Say more and more women would be coming in to work with me to create content for their online account. So I kind of got involved, learned quite a bit about it, not only on the photography end, but also on how that platform works. And, so people would come in, and you tend to learn a lot working with these women, from beginners to people who have large established accounts with thousands of followers and everything in between. So it's been really interesting to learn about what works for one group or what works for another group, and how people sort of work their way through the process and build up their accounts from zero. So we're going to be answering some question on the photography end, but also just from the experience I have in working with people operating on OnlyFans and a bit how that platform works as well. So I'm going to be getting through a few of these questions tonight. And so thanks for stopping by and spending some of your time here. And I'm just going to go in and sort of get into this so we can get going. Here we go. So first question is, what kind of photo content tends to perform best on OnlyFans, and how can I create images that stand out to potential subscribers? Well, there isn't just one kind of image or one kind of content that performs the best. There are women that just post lingerie photos. There are people that post, more explicit. I've worked with people who do like cosplay stuff and dress up, and that's their whole thing, so there is a pretty broad spectrum of content producers out there, all doing what works best for them. The key is what they enjoy, what they're comfortable doing. Now, the one thing, of course, if you are super niche and creating some content that does not have a very big audience, if your audience is very narrow, it's going to be harder to grow that crowd, but usually they're way super dedicated and much more involved and interactive. And those people, they put in a lot of energy to kind of find you. So, there isn't one kind of content that works best. However, the kind of material that probably has the broadest appeal, is just standard like lingerie type content that most people produce, that kind of middle of the road type of a thing that just has the broadest appeal. It's going to appeal to the largest number of guys. And so you tend to attract, because you're pulling from a larger pool of people. It is not necessarily the best. Like I said, there isn't one best flavor of ice cream, Some people like chocolate, some people like strawberry. It's just, a little bit of preference in what you enjoy. So I think if you're not sure, you can certainly start something in that basic kind of, and as you move through your tenure on there, and if you figure something works best for you, you get a better reaction, you could start to narrow down and sort of create content that's a little bit more niche and draw a more specific type of audience. But there isn't one thing that I would say, this is the type of material that is just going to hands down beat anything else. And how can I create images that stand out to potential subscribers? Well, once again, it is really, to be successful there, you don't need to make the most perfect photos in the world, because that doesn't really matter, but you just want to have good quality images, which doesn't take a lot of work. And I think there's some more, another question in here too about getting that set up at home. So I'll get into a little bit more detail in the next question, but the key is just, as I always say, consistent images, use decent lighting in your photos, and keep on going, interact with your followers. It's a little bit salesy. You have to learn how to keep people coming back and, resubscribing if you're doing a subscription site. So it's not just the content produced, it's the interaction. They go sort of hand in hand, and you just have to learn how to perform and become that character, because when you're in there and interacting with those people, it's the role that you play, and you just have to really get into that and keep those people around. Okay, question number 2. Can you give me some tips on setting up my shooting space at home? I'm looking for advice on lighting, backgrounds, creating professional looking setup on a budget. Isn't that the key? Okay, and when you're in there creating your material, as I always do, I would not recommend anybody to go out and spend a fortune and buy a ton of equipment all at once. It's unnecessary spending. And a lot of times people buy stuff that they don't ever use, or find out they spent hundreds of dollars on some kind of lights or gear that they just don't use, and it's a waste of money. So what I tell people is pretty much everybody has what they need, a phone, and iPhones take wonderful photos, top notch. And what I would say at that point, as I always do, what you may want to do there is invest in a light, because lighting, again, really can make an image look a lot better. No need, again, to go out and spend a fortune. What I should have done is made a little list of products and put some links. So maybe after this video, I'll pick out an item or two and put some links to some of these ideas of what I'm talking about. But now you can get very inexpensive LED lights that have batteries in them, maybe anywhere from $25 to $50, and they go up higher depending on what type they are, up to 100 or more. But you can plug them in on USB, charge these lights. Again, they can go on very inexpensive stands, or you can prop them up on a dresser or somewhere that can just shine light on you, because not like today we were talking about how cloudy it is. It's not every day that you have great light coming in, and lighting is very unpredictable. So if you get a light or two, that can really start to level up your photos and make things look a lot better. Don't, again, need to spend a lot of money. Inexpensive LED lighting works great. And as I always say, get a stand for your phone, which are inexpensive, $20, $25. You can get those really compact stands. They fold out, they don't take up a lot of space, and usually they come with a phone holder on the top, and sometimes they even come with a Bluetooth remote control, so you can set that up, go to your area that you want to pose, and just click off your photos, just hide the remote in your hand. Or if it doesn't have that, with an Apple Watch, you can always control your iPhone if you have an iPhone with your Apple Watch, so you have a built-in remote control right with you. As far as backgrounds go, I don't think it's necessary, again, unless you really have the space and if that's a look that you want to do. I think more important than a background is just reducing the clutter in your room. So there's nothing wrong with the environment, bedroom environment, or if you're standing in a wall or a living room or kitchen. I don't think there's anything wrong with having that environmental background that you have. Just may want to declutter it. So not so busy, move all your junk away. So that way you're the center of the photo, and the background is just kind of supporting you, and not something that's distracting in the background. So don't necessarily need backgrounds, but if you are looking for something, backgrounds can get very clunky. It's not fun to drag out and set up, but there are foldable backdrops now. See, I should have gotten some links to, like on Amazon, you can get pop-up backdrops, and they may be 6-7 feet tall, 4, 5, 6 feet wide, and they fold down into like a little circle that may be 3 feet across. They kind of twist into this disc shape, and you poof open them, and they open up into these backdrops that you can lean against a wall, and then you could stand in front of it if you really want to shoot yourself on a background. And they come like in all the colors: gray, white, black, but they also come in like brick or like slat wall or shiplap kind of design, and you can stand in front of that to do a photo. There's hundreds of them on Amazon. Again, and you can get the kind of backdrop that you want. And the good thing about those pop-up ones is they fold down and they zip into a little case, and you can hide them in a closet or under your bed, and they only take a minute to pop up. It's tricky learning how to fold those things, but once you get the hang of it, they take very little space. I don't think that's necessary again, and you could probably get a decent backdrop for about $100 or so. But you need a space, to lean that against a wall or somewhere. And if you're going to get your money's worth out of that, that's fine, but it's not necessary. And maybe what I'll do is when I update the timestamps on this, I'll see if I can find a link or two to a backdrop. I don't get anything out of these, but just to give you an idea to do that. And then, so those things you may be, for the lights, $50 to $100, depending on what you get. Fancy or schmancier lights can be much, much more. You don't necessarily need fancy cob lights or high intensity, like video lights. That's just adding another layer of complexity on there that you probably don't need when you're starting. But simple LED, I should have grabbed one, but they're just small, like I have in the background over there. That one's like a $150 light or so, but it's just a small, I don't know if you could see it because my light's kind of in the way. Microphone. See it back there. I just use that for a little ambient in the back, but they can throw out a lot of light. You just charge them. It takes maybe half an hour for them to charge up, and they're good for your photo session. What I would say is don't go. I see so many people getting those ring lights, which never made sense to me. The origin of that ring light was that if you were a photographer, those round lights, is that you could mount a professional camera in the middle of that, and the light would be circling the lens. And if you were really close and taking a photo of somebody, you would have this on-axis lighting that would be straight, flat light. And not only that, people would do that to get a certain circular catch light in somebody's eye. So it was a really niche kind of a special purpose kind of a light to get. So, that's not what you're using that for. Don't spend money on those ring lights, because I don't know why people use those. It really doesn't make a lot of sense, but you see so many people with that. Now, what does make a difference is obviously the size. As that light gets larger, it casts, the beam gets wider and it covers a bit more space. So lighting matters. And that's why sometimes you see people with fancy lights putting big soft boxes on them or umbrellas on them, because it has the light go out further. You get a larger area of coverage from a light rather than a small light. But you can get small LED lights that are really bright. Post them up on a dresser. That's what I do if I'm out working with somebody. Put them on a dresser or shelves or somewhere, and they for doing videos they're mostly for, but you could use them for photography. That really is inexpensive. The light is the biggest thing to really start to level up your photos. So, okay, on to next. How important is image quality on OnlyFans? Can I start with my smartphone camera? Yes. Or do I need to invest in professional camera right away? And as I just made note of a few moments ago, do not spend money on a professional camera when you are just starting. Because it's not just the camera that you have to get. There are lenses. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. And before you know it, you could be spending $1,000 or more dollars, $2,000, $3,000 on that material. And then you're not necessarily going to be getting an immediate return on that. And not only that, when you're buying fancy cameras, it's way more complicated to use than a phone. When you put that on, it sets the exposure, does everything. You just push the button and you're good to go. Cameras could be a bit more complicated as far as the settings go. And then things may not turn out quite the way, and you have to spend a lot of time getting used to how those cameras work to really get the best out of them. Because even though they are professional cameras, they're really made so you can dial in the settings according to your environment and get the best quality picture. So there is a lot of manual setup depending on what you're doing, but I certainly would not go spending that amount of money on that. iPhone is great, maybe Android is great, and I say it over and over again, all these smartphones today take marvelous pictures, and as I noted a while ago, just get yourself a $25, $30 phone stand with a little phone clip it up. You could stand, you could take photos in your bedroom with that, with the remote control, and that's all you need to get started. Do not spend a lot of money on a professional camera. Please do not. And question number 4, my poor voice is still killing me. I'm a bit camera shy, but want to create engaging content. Do you have any advice on becoming more comfortable in front of the camera? It's an interesting question. It's because it's such a thing to do that you're always out there. You know, your whole thing is taking photos and videos of yourself and posting them for people to see. So camera shy and doing an OnlyFans aren't two things that seem like they sort of go together. But I would say you just kind of get used to doing that, ease your way into that, you know, and also one thing is you'll see that, you know, when I would work with women coming in, if they would be nervous, or even worse, if the situation where like a boyfriend or a husband was like forcing, I'd say the word forcing that's tonight, but like wanted the wife to go in to get photos for the boyfriend or the husband. They really didn't want to do it. They were really there. They're just doing it for their husband or their partner. And the whole time they're like, when is this going to be over? I don't really want, you know, and that look of, isn't anything that you can Photoshop or get rid of in the pictures. And it's going to be very, very evident. Someone's there like, I really don't want to do this. And it makes a big deal. And remember, part of what you are creating here is this kind of, like I said earlier, role. And uncomfortable is not a good thing to be if you're trying to get subscribers and so forth. So before even getting involved in that, I would say stick with your Instagram or wherever you are. Keep taking pictures, keep getting used to taking pictures. And sometimes as people get some positive feedback in comments and stuff, it gets a little bit easier. But yeah, just don't even start any of these accounts till you're okay with taking photos and you're okay with the content. You look natural, you look happy or whatever. Just don't push it. Practice at home. A lot of people or a lot of women, you know, not that you want to be like smiley and happy, but some women too, if they're not smiling a little bit, they have that angry, super angry looking face that's not appealing as well. So a little bit of smile never hurts. And then practice in front of a mirror, tell people, and look at your photos afterwards on a laptop or even on your phone will do, but just you'll see that you become more relaxed, you know, smiling, happy, and not looking like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Because that's like, people can pick that up a mile away, and just keep on practicing and it gets easier. No one likes someone that doesn't look like they're having fun. Okay, question number 5. Trying to figure out how to keep things private while putting myself out there online. Got any clever photo tips or tricks that help me stay kind of anonymous? Well, the most important thing to understand before you get involved and put any material online is that there is no guarantee that at any time anything can be out there. So you have to get over that hurdle in your mind, because guys will screenshot stuff, copy stuff. I've seen stuff reposted on other websites, and once that toothpaste out of the tube, it can go all over the place. So rule number 1, do not ever think that somehow just because your account is paid or whatever you may think that material is going to stay private. You always have to operate under the assumption that no matter what you publish or post is going to get out there at some point, because more than likely it will. Now, as far as protecting yourself, we've all seen people who do anonymous content, whether they're just not showing their face, or in all their content, they blur out their face, so those are some things that people do to sort of give themselves some degree of anonymity on there. So those are two of the easiest things, I would say, blurring or just not putting your face in the photo. Now, one thing I don't know, it's interesting now, I just think of this now, where a lot of, especially if you're using your phone, when you take photos on your phone, whether it's Android or iPhone, that it embeds a lot of data about your location and the date, and there's all kinds of information that goes into photos. And some things like Android phones, you could turn that off. What I don't know is just screenshotting, they don't get this information. I'm not sure, and I don't know if you were taking content with your phone, uploading it on OnlyFans for like a message and someone's downloading it, whether that information is scrubbed from those photos, or it's a good thing I want to try out and see, or that data is in those photos. So I know some people that will go to really, there's applications that you could do it, or you can manually do it, and I know in Android and some, you can go into the camera settings if you're using your phone and turn off the geolocation data and other information like that, personal information that may be embedded in that photo. And there are certain people who know to get that. They may be able to find out where you are, or where your location is. So that's another thing to remain private, is to scrub that data, either turn the settings off on your phone or scrub that data out of your photos before you're uploading them. I mean, that's a remote chance. And I don't think that when you upload those photos, if you're mass mailing them out and somebody else makes that purchase and downloads them, that data is in that photo. I don't think, but that's be interesting to check. So if you're really concerned, take that out of that photo. And then other things are really kind of obvious. People don't use their real names, use a screen name. If you don't want that connection made again. And, now it's interesting. There's a whole group of women on there who use their real names and they're okay with that. But I think there's just as many that use screen names. So those are a combination of a few ideas that came right to mind immediately that can help you keep your privacy, but just always understand that those photos can get out. It's always a possibility, and there's no guarantee to privacy on any of these services. Okay, I think this is my last one for today. And this question is, I'm a bit nervous about the whole live stream thing. Any advice on how to ease into live content and to engage with my audience in real time without freaking out? Don't freak out. Yeah, now I've worked with a number of people who do live streams, whether it's on OnlyFans or other sites. And from what I can see is that a lot of people just click on that live stream without a plan. And they just kind of are there. They have nothing to say. They have nothing prepared. And, the idea is you're going to be doing some kind of information exchange there, or something that the people want to stay and watch and tip you. So whether it is a try on, like a lingerie try on, or whatever it's going to be, just always first come up with some kind of a plan. You don't need to script something out and have a whole written out thing, but what you're going to do, how long you may want to stay online, so that way you're just not sitting there in awkward silence. In that kind of a situation. And number two, live stream is great. But if you have 20 people, don't expect anybody to show up to watch that. And I don't think that you can live stream on OnlyFans. I don't think that goes into your feed afterwards. Afterwards, it's just live and then it vanishes. That's a good question, and I never thought about that. I think when you go live there, it's live while it's live, but when you shut it off, that material isn't recycled. So if you have a little to no followers, odds are, people don't stay a lot of time on that site, that there's no one going to be watching that live stream anyway, and you're going to be live streaming to nobody. So if you're new, I don't think you have to worry too much about being nervous about live streaming, because odds are there's going to be nobody watching you anyway. Now, I know people who get hundreds or thousands of followers, and there's a way you can, they'll send out mass messages. I'll be live tonight at 8 o'clock. I'll be live here or here. and you give people a little bit of a notification. I do think if you're following someone and they go live, they will get an email notifying that you're live as well. But first of all, you need an audience, and second of all, you need a plan, what you're going to do, and third, like I said, it just takes it takes practice to be interactive and make sure people are hanging around for a while, whether it's for more tips or to sell particular content. I know one person who goes on to tease, like they'll do kind of a longer feature movie. They're there to tease, and they'll play short clips of that movie and get people interested. And they say it's coming out, in the next week in a mass message or so. So they do it as like a little preview of the movie they're releasing for that week or for the video, and kind of like a premiere type of a thing. And so there's a number of ways that you can do it, but it's good for if you want that interaction and to get a little chat or go back and forth with your people, and that takes practice to do. So the one thing about, I would say, if you're nervous about it, you don't have a lot of followers, just try it, because you're probably going to be talking to 0 people anyway. But that too, like as you go through it, it gets easier, and as your audience grows, more people will be watching you. And once you start interacting, it gets a little bit easier. But just come up with a little bit of a plan. And maybe what I'll do is make a list of some good live stream ideas I've seen or reviewed with some of the people that I work with. That gives you a little bit of content to go through. And it's fun to do, but it's not for everybody. So don't force yourself if it's not your type of a thing. And often, like I said, I'd see women that get together and they just, Jane and I are here, we're going to be live streaming tonight, and there's 0 plan. They click on their phones, and then they're just like, they're not doing anything. They're not engaging with your audience. So if you're going on, there should be a reason. You should have a plan that you're going on, whether it's Q&A, answering questions, or whatever you're going to do. Again, some people do a little dress up kind of a show or whatever, maybe lingerie try on or something like that. But there's got to be a reason to keep people around. Otherwise, they'll pop in. If you're just, then they'll leave. But, it takes practice, and it's not for every account. So those are the couple of questions we had for this evening. And as always, if you have any future questions, just leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll get them on a future show. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by tonight, or for those who are watching this on the replay, which again, here is many, many more people watching this on the replay than the live show. If you have a question that you're interested, just leave it in the comments below. We'll try to get to it on a future episode. So again, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for everybody stopping by tonight, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.